Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for stopping by. Today's video is all about the premise of my personal finance. What you're about to see is truly the foundation of Beautiful Budget, and I can't wait to share it with you all. I call it the money mantra, and it is the only rule book you need to follow to successfully budget for yourself or for your family every single time. So let's get to it. Okay, so what is it? What is the money mantra? Well, all it is a phrase that I came up with to help you remember the exact order in which your budget should be set up and the order in which your money should flow out as soon as you get paid. It works whether you're a monthly budgeter or you're a per paycheck budgeter like myself. It doesn't matter. It simply creates a system and cuts out the guesswork. And I hate guesswork when it comes to my money. So I put a lot of time and thought into this. I know you're gonna love it. Are you ready for it? Embrace every day and reject the poor life. That's it. That's the phrase. If you can remember that and the budgeting terms that correspond to each part of that money mantra, your budget is going to thank you immensely, and you will be well on your way to achieving financial independence. So, a couple things that I have to say before we get started to go through each part of the mantra. The first being, you don't advance in the mantra until you've met the current part that you're at. And this will make more sense when I explain it a little bit later, but just remember that not everybody is going to be able to satisfy all parts of the mantra right away. Some of us may have to stop partway through, and as your money allows, you'll be able to reach different parts of the mantra. But you don't advance until you meet the part that you're at. The second thing I'll say is that the mantra doesn't ignore minimum payments. If you've got minimum payments, just throw those in your expenses category, which is the very first part, because that's really where that belongs. So no matter what that minimum payment falls under, it probably falls under debt, like a personal loan or a student loan. You may not be in that part of the mantra. No matter what, you've got to meet that minimum payment. Okay, so now we're ready to get started. Again, the phrase is embrace every day and reject the poor life. So the first word is embrace. Let's take that E and let's correlate it to expenses. So expenses break down into fixed and variable. Fixed meaning things like mortgage or rent or phone bill. Variable meaning things like gas for your car, groceries, things that can change month to month. That's the first category, E for expenses. Every is the second part of the mantra, and that E corresponds to emergency. As soon as your expenses have been met, you're now in a position where you can start putting aside funds for an emergency. And don't advance in the mantra until you've got 3 to 6 months of expenses set aside in a savings account ready to go for vehicle issues, maybe a death in the family, some unexpected travel that you've got to do, medical bills you didn't anticipate. You've got to be ready for an emergency. So that's the second part of the mantra. Again, you wouldn't advance until you've met 3 to 6 months, ideally 6 months of expenses saved, set aside, ready to go. Then you move on to day, which corresponds to debt. So the rule for the mantra here is that you don't advance until you've met the required payment to cut your payoff time in half. That probably sounded really confusing. Your current debt, and there's actually a calculator on the Beautiful Budget website that will tell you, you'll put in your interest rate, you'll put in your current debt amount, and it'll tell you what your current payoff time is. Then it'll automatically tell you if you were to cut that payoff time in half, your payments would need to be this amount. Once you can reach debt payments of that amount, that new dollar figure, then you can advance in the mantra. But until then, you're either making minimum payments or you're working your way up to pay off time in half. But we want to make sure that you're getting after that aggressively, and you're proving that if you're paying it off in half the time. So you would continue to pay off debt, tackle the highest interest rate debt first. Okay, so if you've got a credit card, compared to a student loan, that credit card is facing a lot more interest than the student loan. Get rid of that credit card, pay that off. Now we move on to reject the poor life, the second half of the mantra. This is where you start paying you. This is where you start looking at your future, investments, giving, things like that all fall in the second half of the mantra. And a lot of us don't reach this point until maybe our 30s or 40s, but ideally you're getting after this as early as possible. So reject, that R stands for retirement, or just investing in your future. So if it's a 401k, if it's a Roth IRA, whatever it might be that you're putting as much as you can into retirement. So a number that I always like to throw out in what the mantra requests is 15%. And then you would advance to D, and that T corresponds to tending to your tree. So this is where you would give. This is where your tree may very well be your church. Your tree may very well be your children. This is where you would look at maybe a UTMA or UGMA for your child, or maybe you're giving to your church via tithes, or maybe you're giving to neighbors, or you're giving to charity. That all corresponds to the T in tend to your tree. We're almost done, guys. Hopefully you guys are sticking with me. Then we move on to poor, and that P corresponds to priorities. Now, nobody can define this for you. I can define this for you. For every person, every family, it's different. Some parents want kids to be in private schools. I would consider that a priority. Maybe you want to invest in a hobby that happens to correspond with expenses, right? So maybe you want to start a YouTube channel. You need a camera, a tripod, lighting, so many different things, video editing software, right? That all would fall under priorities in the event that it's something you concur. If you're in a budget that includes more than just you, it's something that everyone agrees is a priority. Otherwise, it's a luxury, and it's not something that you need, but it's, hey, my budget is really, it's got that space in there, and this is where I can push some extra funds. Now, I certainly don't want to condone just blowing all the rest of your money on luxuries. Go back in the mantra and kill your debt immediately if you can. Go back in the mantra and maybe give more if that's what's important to you. Go back and feed more into your retirement annuities. Those are things that you can just beef up if your budget can allow. But again, the mantra is designed to tell you, hey, if you meet these specific thresholds, you can keep going, and it's just a guide. But I would absolutely say that if you're sitting there going, well, I don't really have any luxuries that I want. I don't want a new car, and you shouldn't buy a new car anyway. I don't want really any of those things, clothes, whatever it might be. I don't really care for it. Then go back in the mantra and pay yourself, pay your future. Tackle your debt even faster. Do those things that will set you up for financial independence and financial freedom even sooner. But the mantra is set up for folks who, we're human, right? And we have these areas of our lives that we want to dedicate money to. And I think with a lot of the systems out there and a lot of the budgeting plans and steps and all that, you're not able to really live your life. So the mantra allows you to live your life and do the things that you want to do and pay for things that are important to you, but it also guarantees that you're getting after the tough stuff and you're achieving financial independence. So I hope that all made sense. Stay tuned because there is an e-course, How to Build a Budget Using the Money Mantra, coming soon. I'm hoping early 2020. And it's gonna have all this broken out with worksheets, goal setting, everything. Like I said, it got me out of debt, helped me achieve financial independence. I would recommend it to anybody. I've put a lot of time and thought into it, and I hope you found it helpful. And we'll see you guys next time.